Late one night, a group of bikers wearing helmets and leather jackets zoomed down an empty highway, speeding away with the police in hot pursuit, sirens blaring. After half an hour, the police finally caught up to them on a muddy dirt road, where the bikers' motorcycles got stuck in the rain-soaked ground. The officers handcuffed all 5 riders and removed their helmets. Among them was a bold girl who struggled and yelled, "Let me go! You're hurting me! Don't touch me!" One of the officers sighed and said, "Of course it's Alma again with her reckless friends. Call her father. He'll have to pay a hefty fine as usual. And you, young lady, we'll spend some time at the station." Do you even realize how dangerous that was? Imagine if you had hit someone at that speed. You're all out of your minds. Alma grew nervous, knowing her father would arrive soon, and a big argument awaited her at home. Sure enough, when her father arrived, he grabbed her by the ear and dragged her out of the station. "What are you doing, Alma? Are you out of your mind? How many times do I have to clean up your messes with the police? I'm embarrassed by you. You know I'm running for mayor, and it's like you're deliberately sabotaging me. What do you even lack?" "You're such a selfish brat." Alma broke free, her voice trembling as she cried, "I miss Mom. I'm miserable without her, and all you care about is your job. You're never around." "You don't care about me at all. I feel like nobody needs me. We were just trying to have some fun." Her father, Peyton, softened and pulled her into a hug. "Alma, sweetheart, I'm sorry. It's been hard for me too since your mom passed. It's tough for both of us, but please don't take such risks. Don't hang out with those bikers. If anything happened to you, I wouldn't survive it. Promise me you won't ride a motorcycle anymore." Alma grumbled, "Fine, Dad, I won't. Can we go home now? I'm hungry." Peyton remained silent on the drive home, occasionally glancing at Alma, who had fallen asleep in the car. He looked at her small upturned nose, her purple hair, and the piercing in her nose, shaking his head at how much things had changed. When Molly, Alma's mother, was alive, their family life was peaceful and good. Alma was diligent in her studies and close to her mother, who was like her best friend. They laughed together, shared secrets, and always waited for Peyton to come home from work. But after Molly's death, everything changed. Peyton didn't know how to handle the overwhelming pain or how to keep himself from falling apart. So he buried himself in work, turning to politics. Recently, he had become a candidate for mayor. The busyness left him no time to grieve, and over the past 4 years, Alma had changed dramatically. The sweet, gentle girl was gone, and now she was constantly in trouble at university, and Peyton could barely keep up with paying for all her missed classes. Now she was speeding through the city with bikers at night, and Peyton realized it was his fault. He had been too busy, thinking she was grown, and tried to fill the gap with expensive gadgets and clothes. But today's events made him rethink everything. With the mayoral elections looming, Peyton decided that after the election, he would focus on finding a good husband for his daughter. Enough of this nonsense. It was time for her to start her own family. The next day, Alma decided to visit her mother's grave. She bought her favorite flowers and sat for a long time on a bench near the headstone. Her mother's kind eyes gazed at her from the portrait on the cold marble. Alma cried softly and whispered, "Mom, why aren't you here anymore? Everything's changed so much. I don't even know what I'm doing. I feel lost. Dad is so mad at me, and I'm ashamed of myself too. If you were here, you'd hug me and scold me a little like you used to, and everything would be okay. I miss you so much." Suddenly, Alma felt someone watching her. She turned around and saw a guy in old jeans, a cap, and sneakers. Alma wiped her tears and snapped, "What are you staring at? Keep moving." The guy smiled, "You're funny. You look like a parrot with that bright purple hair and nose piercing. Why ruin your looks like that? You're actually quite pretty. I'm Gabriel, by the way. I work here, taking care of the graves. I was wondering if I could pull the weeds from your mom's grave, or will you do it yourself? But with such a nice manicure, I doubt you'd want to mess it up." Alma was offended. "How do you know this is my mom? And why are you being so rude? Have you looked at yourself? You look homeless. I don't need your help." "I'll manage." Gabriel apologized. "I didn't mean to offend you. You're even prettier when you're mad. I just guessed it was your mom because you look like her. And you're right, I don't have a home. I live and work here at the cemetery. Sorry, I'll leave now. We're probably too different to be friends." He walked away to clean an abandoned grave, and Alma felt ashamed. Seeing her mother's grave overgrown with weeds, she started cleaning up too, but she pricked her finger and yelped. Gabriel quickly ran back. "Why are you being so careless?" "You should have brought gloves." "I was just joking, you didn't have to clean it up." "I can do it, they pay me for this." "Does it hurt much?" "Let me see." Alma, starting to like this strange guy, held out her hand. "Thanks for the help. I have tissues in my bag. Can you get them for me? I'm so lost without my mom. Dad's always scolding me, telling me how to live, and it's so hard. What about you? Why are you living like this? Do you just love freedom or did something happen?" Gabriel replied vaguely, "It's a long story. Losing your mom is hard, but I'm sure you're not as bad as you seem. You just want attention, but you're not a child anymore. You can live how you want, but that comes with responsibility. That's more serious than dyeing your hair purple. By the way, where did you find such a bright color? It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, I was thinking maybe tomorrow we could meet at the park and rent bikes. I love spending time like that, though I bet it won't impress you. Your dad probably already bought you a car." Alma smiled. "Yeah, I have both a car and a motorcycle, but I like your idea. I haven't ridden a bike in ages." "But why would you ask a parrot out on a date? What if people laugh at us?" Gabriel laughed. Alma could tell Gabriel had a sassy side. "I'll manage somehow," he said with a grin. "I'll just imagine your hair like your mom's. By the way, that color would really suit you." Alma felt unexpectedly happy when Gabriel asked her out. Looking in the mirror, she thought, "Why didn't I realize sooner that I looked like a parrot? I need a change." Soon after they met again, and Gabriel exclaimed, "Wow, Alma. Your new hairstyle and blonde hair look amazing. You're beautiful. I think I'm falling in love." He handed her a delicate bouquet. "I know you're used to fancy flowers, but I can't afford those. I picked these wildflowers just for you this morning." Alma admired the bouquet, touched by the gesture. Gabriel, looking sharp in a clean white shirt and new trousers, had clearly put in as much effort for their date as she had. The day passed in the blink of an eye as they rode bikes, walked through the park, and shared stories. Alma found herself telling Gabriel about her childhood, her mom, and her mom's favorite music. Gabriel listened with tenderness. Alma confessed, "I don't even know why I joined the bikers. I thought it would be cool and romantic, racing at night, breaking all the rules. I even had some tequila for courage. But when the police chased us, it was terrifying. I don't want to do that again. Jace keeps bothering me though. He likes me, but I don't like him. He's so arrogant because his dad is a government official. But you, Gabriel, you're nothing like him. We've only met twice, but it feels like I've known you forever." Gabriel frowned. "I really like you, Alma. I'd love to keep seeing you, but you probably deserve someone more prosperous. We could just be friends, right? And if Jace bothers you again, let me know. I'll show him how to treat you properly." Thus began their love story. Alma fell deeply in love with Gabriel. Her life changed. No more nightclubs, no more motorcycles. She swapped her black jeans and leather jackets for sweet dresses, eagerly awaiting their next date. Gabriel was everything she had longed for: smart, kind, calm, and respectful. He never crossed any boundaries, always showing his affection in thoughtful ways, like bringing her wildflower bouquets and organizing picnics. There was a special kind of romance in everything he did, and Alma found herself completely in love. Yet something about Gabriel remained mysterious. He never talked much about himself, which only intrigued her more. He often spoke of his dreams for the future, hinting at a strong family, and it was clear he saw Alma as part of that. Alma shared her deepest thoughts with him. "My dad forced me to study economics, but I've never liked it. I've always loved writing essays and would rather become a teacher or work in a kindergarten. I love kids, but my dad never cared about what I wanted." Gabriel replied, "You're an adult now. It's time to make your own decisions, Alma. Maybe we could rent a small apartment. It won't be as luxurious as your mansion, but at least we won't have to meet outside all the time." Alma's face lit up. "Are you serious? I live in a big house, but I'm not happy there." Soon enough, Gabriel rented a modest apartment on the outskirts of town. The couple spent time together there, and Gabriel taught Alma the basics of running a household: cooking, cleaning, and doing laundry. Alma wasn't used to living independently, but Gabriel spoiled her with delicious meals, which she devoured with joy. One day, while baking a cherry pie together, they got flour everywhere, danced, kissed, and even burned the dough, but the pie still turned out delicious. It was in that cozy apartment that they became intimate for the first time, and Alma felt as if her happiness would never end. Peyton, her father, noticed the changes in Alma. She smiled more, her eyes sparkled, and she wasn't as rude to him anymore. But she was rarely home and often stayed out late. Peyton was pleased to see a positive change but didn't know why. One day Alma nervously said, "Dad, I'm in love. Gabriel is amazing, and we want to live together. Please understand." Her father was stunned. "Live together? I'm glad you found love, but I need to meet this man. Invite him over for dinner. I hope he's well off. And how can you live together without being married? What will people think?" Alma sighed. "Here we go. I knew you wouldn't approve. I'll invite Gabriel tomorrow, but promise me you won't interrogate him. He's just a regular guy, but I love him, and that's all that matters." Peyton reluctantly agreed to meet Gabriel. Unfortunately, the dinner turned into a disaster. The moment Peyton learned that Gabriel was a cemetery worker, he lost his temper. "Are you out of your mind? I'll never let you marry this lowly worker. This is absurd. Imagine what people would say if the journalists found out. Get out of my house, you beggar, and stay away from my daughter." Gabriel tried to stay calm. "Why are you doing this? This job is temporary. Things will change. Alma and I love each other, and I will never leave her. Does money and reputation matter more to you than your daughter's happiness?" But Peyton wasn't listening, and Gabriel was forcibly thrown out. Alma, locked in her room, screamed and pounded on the door. "Dad, let me out. I'm not your possession. You can't control my life however you want." Alma's anger boiled over. "I love Gabriel, and we'll be together no matter what. Why don't you ever listen to me? You're cruel and heartless, and I'll never forgive you for this," she shouted at her father. He shot back, "I was going to give you tickets for a vacation by the sea, but now you'll get nothing. Instead of sunbathing on a beach, you'll be stuck by your bedroom window. And don't think I'll change my mind a cemetery worker? What could be more humiliating? Was there not a better man in the entire city? This is disgraceful." Peyton, seething with fury, decided it was time to take drastic action. He was done indulging Alma's whims and set his mind on finding her a proper groom or even sending her abroad to forget about Gabriel. Alma, meanwhile, sobbed uncontrollably, convinced that Gabriel must be hurt and humiliated by the way her father had treated him. Surely he would leave her now, scared off by her father's cruelty. Peyton left a tray of food outside her door, telling her to reconsider, but Alma couldn't eat or drink. Her eyes were swollen from crying. As the night deepened, something unexpected happened. A stone hit her window, then another. Alma looked out and, to her astonishment, saw Gabriel standing behind the fence. He motioned for her to open the window. Alma's father wasn't home, having gone to a business dinner. Alma opened the window and whispered, "Gabriel, my love, I'm so glad you're back. You really do love me. I thought I'd never see you again. My father locked me up. What are we going to do? He'll never accept you. And I can't live without you. He's planning to send me away or force me to marry someone else." Gabriel smiled, finding a ladder in the backyard and putting it up to her window. "I love you, Alma. I won't let anyone separate us. How could you think I'd leave you? I'm not scared of your father. He can't kill us, right? Let's live the way we dreamed. You wanted to study to become a teacher, so go to university. I'll find another job soon. Your father will understand one day and accept us. But for now we have to run, just like Romeo and Juliet." Alma, heart pounding, packed a few important documents and some money. Gabriel helped her climb down the ladder, and they ran through the dark streets, laughing and kissing along the way. The wind whipped their faces as they were overwhelmed by a strange mixture of fear, excitement, and passion. It was like jumping off a cliff into the unknown, but there was no turning back. Alma's modest rented apartment, where they took refuge, felt surprisingly cozy. The most important thing was that they were together. Meanwhile, Peyton came home in the early hours, oblivious to Alma's escape. It wasn't until noon the next day, when he realized the house was too quiet, that he sensed something was wrong. He took breakfast up to Alma's room, pleading with her to open the door and reconsider her choices. But there was no response. Panicking, Peyton kicked down the door. The open window and empty closet told him everything. Furious, he berated the security team, unable to understand how Alma could do this to him. In a fit of rage, Peyton blocked her bank cards, thinking, "Let's see how long you last without money. You'll come running back soon enough. But Alma didn't give up. On Gabriel's advice, she enrolled in a teaching program at the university and embraced her new life. She even worked part-time, tutoring other students, while Gabriel did his best to provide for them both. They lived simply, but they were happy. Alma discovered that the people she met in her new life were much kinder and more supportive than her father's wealthy friends. She didn't regret her decision for a second. Her ex-boyfriend Jace, however, couldn't forget about her. He was infuriated by her rejection and the fact that she had chosen a lowly guy over him. One day, while walking through the park with his friends, he spotted Alma, holding Gabriel's hand. She looked completely different, soft, sweet, and happy in her simple denim sundress. Jace couldn't resist blocking their path. "Alma, is that you? I almost didn't recognize you. Is this your new boyfriend, the cemetery worker? The whole city's talking about it. Is this some kind of joke? I can't believe you traded a life of luxury for this." Alma tensed. "Jace, get out of our way. Yes, Gabriel is my fiancé, and we're happy. He's kind, reliable, and he loves me. Unlike you." Jace sneered and pushed Gabriel with his shoulder. "What are you going to do, hero? Show us what you've got." Without hesitation, Gabriel deftly flipped Jace over his shoulder, sending him splashing into a nearby fountain. His friends burst into laughter, recording everything on their phones. Gabriel sternly warned, "Don't touch me or Alma again, or you'll regret it." Taking Alma's hand, he led her away. Alma was thrilled. She was more certain than ever that Gabriel would always protect her. Jace, however, was furious, wringing out his soaked shirt and swearing revenge. He contacted the local press, spilling the news that the daughter of a mayoral candidate was living with a cemetery janitor. Peyton was livid. His reputation was on the line, and his political campaign was in jeopardy. He couldn't understand what his daughter saw in Gabriel, this nobody who was ruining her life. Desperate, Peyton hired a private investigator, Weston, to dig up any dirt he could find on Gabriel. If there were any skeletons in Gabriel's closet, Peyton was determined to use them to end his daughter's relationship for good. Gabriel had decided to keep a low profile while working undercover, but fate had other plans. The private investigator Weston, hired by Alma's father, Peyton, started tailing Gabriel to uncover the truth about him. Gabriel had always kept his distance, but one day Weston discovered something unusual. As he discreetly followed Gabriel, he saw him not just cleaning the cemetery but installing surveillance cameras around the perimeter. Weston's mind raced. Gabriel wasn't just a simple worker, he was involved in something bigger. The detective quickly concluded that Gabriel must be an undercover cop, but before he could report this to Peyton, disaster struck. 4 thugs attacked Weston, beating him viciously. The last thing Weston heard was a warning, "Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong," before he blacked out. Later that evening, the cemetery caretaker and his faithful dog, Jack, were making their rounds when Jack suddenly began barking furiously at the bushes. The caretaker, confused, scolded Jack to quiet down, but the dog was insistent, pulling on his leg and growling. Curious, the caretaker followed Jack and was shocked to find Weston lying in a pool of blood, his body covered in wounds. Panicking, he immediately called for an ambulance and the police, wondering what had happened and where Gabriel had been during all of this. Weston was rushed to the hospital, where his condition was so severe that he fell into a coma. Before losing consciousness, he had deliriously mumbled Gabriel's name. Peyton, who hadn't left Weston's side out of guilt, overheard the detective mentioning Gabriel and jumped to conclusions. Convinced that Gabriel was behind the attack, Peyton was certain that Gabriel had retaliated after realizing he was being followed. Furious, Peyton rushed to the police, accusing Gabriel and demanding his arrest. Gabriel was taken into custody right in front of a horrified Alma, who cried out, "Let him go. He's innocent." "Gabriel, tell them you didn't do it." But Gabriel remained calm, only responding vaguely, "Everything will be fine, Alma. Don't worry. I'll be released soon. I wanted to tell you everything, but I couldn't. Forgive me." Alma was left confused and devastated. What did Gabriel mean? He had always been so secretive, never revealing much about himself. For the first time, Alma began to doubt whether she truly knew the man she loved. She demanded answers at the police station, and when the truth came out, both she and her father were stunned. It turned out that Gabriel wasn't a vagrant at all. He was an undercover police officer investigating a mafia operation linked to the cemetery. The funeral home associated with the cemetery had been running a scam. They would approach grieving families right after a death, offering to transport the body for free. In their grief, the families would sign documents without realizing they were being scammed. The next day, they would discover that the funeral home was private, and they would be forced to pay exorbitant fees to reclaim their loved ones' bodies. Gabriel had been investigating this scheme, installing cameras to gather evidence. Ironically, it was these cameras that captured the real culprits behind Weston's attack, clearing Gabriel of any wrongdoing. With the mafia exposed and the funeral home shut down, Peyton was left feeling deeply ashamed. He had humiliated Gabriel, a man of integrity, for no reason. Desperate to make amends, Peyton invited Gabriel and Alma back to his home, apologizing for how he had treated them. "Please," Peyton said, "I'd like you both to live in my mansion. I'll support you financially." But Gabriel politely declined. "Thank you, Peyton, but I need to feel like a man in our family, standing on my own 2 feet. Alma doesn't need your money, she needs your attention. She loves you, but she wants to live her own life. If you could just talk to her, listen to her, and stop trying to control everything, I'm sure we can all be happy. You should see how much she enjoys her studies. She's a natural teacher. Accept her choices, and let's all live peacefully." In the meantime, the story about Alma and Gabriel reached the press. Headlines changed their narrative. Mayor's daughter marries a heroic police officer. This shift in public opinion saved Peyton's campaign, but there was another twist to the story. Jace, Alma's ex-boyfriend, had been involved in the attack on Weston. One of the thugs who beat up the detective was Jace's best friend. Jace was arrested, and his influential father, despite his attempts to clear his son's name, was fed up with Jace's behavior. As punishment, he sent Jace to the army, a place he had always avoided. Jace fumed at the idea of following orders instead of lording over others as he had before. Back in her modest apartment, Alma was initially hurt when she learned the truth about Gabriel's undercover work. "Why didn't you tell me? You lied to me, Gabriel. How can I trust you if you kept such a big secret from me?" she demanded, tears in her eyes. Gabriel sighed, pulling her close. "Alma, I had no choice. I was working undercover, and it's a dangerous job. When I took on this case, I didn't expect to meet someone like you. Falling in love with you almost ruined everything. I wanted to tell you the truth, but I couldn't jeopardize the investigation. I couldn't tell anyone. But please understand that I never lied about my feelings for you. I love you, Alma, more than anything." Alma's anger melted away as she realized Gabriel had been protecting her and himself the entire time. "I understand now," she whispered. "I love you too." With the truth out in the open, Alma and Gabriel's relationship grew even stronger. Peyton, now supportive, mended his relationship with his daughter, accepting her choices and giving her the freedom she longed for. The young couple, united by love and trust, were ready to face the future together. Gabriel reassured Alma, "I was a vagrant, and I'm really glad that money isn't what matters to you. Don't be upset, my love. You wanted me to change jobs, and now I'm a policeman again, but this job has its challenges too. Dangerous assignments, late-night calls. Are you sure you're ready for that? Many of my colleagues struggle to keep their families together because of the demands. I don't see myself in any other profession, and I won't leave the police force." Alma hugged him tightly, her voice soft but full of determination. "I'm ready for anything, as long as we're together. Don't you get that? And thank God things worked out with my dad. He even offered us a place at the mansion, but like you, I refused. I want to live life the way I like it. But I'll worry, I'll miss you, and yes, I'll be jealous. So don't forget that." Gabriel smiled, holding her close, loving her bravery and resolve. He knew he would never let her go. Meanwhile, Weston remained in a coma, and the doctors didn't hold much hope. Almost everyone had given up on him, except for one person, a quiet, unassuming nurse named Chloe. She was considered odd by her colleagues. Chloe wasn't traditionally beautiful and walked with a slight limp due to a congenital defect, which made her self-conscious. She wore long dresses, kept to herself, and tried not to stand out. Before Weston was admitted, Chloe had done her job dutifully, but his case sparked something within her. She cared for him with an intensity that puzzled even herself. He reminded her of her deceased brother, strong, with the same chestnut hair and broad shoulders. At 27, Chloe was all alone. Her mother had died when she was young, and she had lost her father just a year ago. Her brother, the person she was closest to, had died in an accident. She had tried to start her own family once, but her fiancé had turned out to be abusive, drinking too much and cheating on her. Chloe had found a small glimmer of joy when she rescued a stray dog from a trash bin 6 months ago. The poor creature, old and frail, was barely clinging to life. Chloe had taken her home, nursed her back to health, and named her Penny. Penny was now plump, lively, and the closest thing Chloe had to family, loyally waiting for her after long shifts at the hospital. As Chloe cared for Weston, she developed an attachment to him. She massaged his muscles, read to him, played music, and even spoke to him as if he could hear her. In her dreams, she saw them together, walking side by side, a warmth spreading through her heart. But then Chloe overheard something terrible. The doctors were considering disconnecting Weston from life support, believing his case was hopeless. Chloe's heart sank. Without hesitation, she called Peyton. As one of the few people who visited Weston, Peyton had given her his card, asking to be informed of any changes. Chloe, her voice trembling, pleaded, "Please do something. They're going to disconnect Weston. I know he'll recover, I can feel it. Please don't let them do this." Peyton rushed to the hospital, feeling immense guilt. Weston had been injured while on assignment for him, and Peyton was determined to make things right. He convinced the doctors to hold off on disconnecting Weston and covered all the expenses for his continued care. Chloe, meanwhile, had found a potential treatment method in a book. She proposed a strange experiment. She asked Weston's mother to sing him the same lullaby she had sung to him as a child. Weston's mother, Irina, tearfully sang the lullaby in her trembling voice, her eyes full of grief. "Sleep, my little son, my beloved angel." And then something incredible happened. Weston's eyelids twitched and slowly his eyes opened. The machine started beeping, indicating his return to consciousness. Chloe, elated, rushed to call the doctors, shouting, "He's awake. I told you," and no one believed me. The doctors were astounded, but it was true. Weston had woken up. His recovery would be long and difficult, but the worst was over. Throughout his rehabilitation, Chloe stayed by his side, helping him take his first steps and supporting him as he slowly regained his strength. Weston, grateful for her unwavering care, soon realized he had fallen in love with Chloe. His mother told him that no one had believed he would survive except Chloe. Weston didn't see her limp or her modest appearance. Instead, he admired her soft smile, her long eyelashes, and the dimple in her chin. One day, Weston gathered the courage to ask her, "Chloe, why did you stay with me all this time? Was it out of pity?" Chloe blushed, looking down, and softly replied, "No, it wasn't pity. I can't even breathe without you. I don't know how it happened, but you've become everything to me. While you were unconscious, you kept appearing in my dreams, and we were always together. I knew you were mine, and I was yours." The two started dating, and Chloe blossomed. Her colleagues barely recognized her anymore. She was always smiling, her eyes bright with happiness. She even changed her hairstyle and wardrobe, radiating confidence. But just when it seemed life was finally going her way, tragedy struck again. Weston's injuries began to worsen, and his back problems grew severe. The doctor informed him that he would need surgery, or he might never walk again. Weston fell into a deep depression, unable to bear the thought of being a burden to Chloe. One day, he made a heartbreaking decision. "Chloe," he said, "I don't want to doom you to this. You're young, with your whole life ahead of you. Why would you want to be tied to an invalid? Let's break up. You deserve better." Chloe's heart broke at his words, but she refused to leave him. "Never," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I will never abandon you. I can't live without you. We'll find a way to make you better." In desperation, Chloe called Peyton once again. "Please help us. Weston needs surgery, but the bank won't give me a loan because of my salary. He's losing hope. He won't live like this, and I can't bear to see him like this. Please help us. We'll pay you back, I promise." Alma's deep love for Gabriel only grew stronger. And when she pleaded for help, Peyton couldn't refuse. He paid for Weston's surgery, hoping for the best, but things took an unexpected turn. A donor was urgently needed, and Weston's blood type was rare, so rare that finding a match seemed almost impossible. Chloe, worried and desperate, spread the word about Weston's condition, which soon reached Gabriel and Alma. Without hesitation, they both offered to help, and in a miraculous turn of events, Gabriel's blood was a perfect match. The doctor, surprised by the rare compatibility, remarked, "This is incredibly rare. Such a match is usually only found in close relatives." There wasn't time to dwell on the details. Weston's life was at stake. The blood transfusion worked and Weston began to recover. However, the doctor's words lingered in the minds of both Chloe and Gabriel. Could it be possible that Gabriel and Weston were related? Once Weston was stable, Gabriel decided to confront the mystery. He approached Weston and said, "The doctor thinks we might be blood relatives. But how can that be? We were strangers before all of this. It doesn't make sense, but it keeps bothering me. What if we're brothers and didn't even know it?" Weston, still weak but curious, replied, "I've seen photos from when I was born, and my mother never mentioned anything like that. But you're right, we need to find out the truth. My mother is visiting tomorrow, let's ask her." The next day, Weston's mother arrived, visibly concerned for her son. When Gabriel entered the room, Weston took her hand and said, "Mom, I need to ask you something important." Gabriel donated blood, and it was a perfect match, something that usually only happens between close relatives. "But your blood didn't match mine. Gabriel was raised by his mother alone. And he doesn't know anything about his father. His mother's name was Vesper. Do you know her? Could there be a connection between us?" Weston's mother turned pale and remained silent for a long time. Finally, she spoke in a soft, trembling voice, "Yes, son, Gabriel is your brother. It's time I tell you the truth. A long time ago, I decided to have a child on my own. I was never the type to attract much attention, and after a few failed relationships, I decided to do it alone. That's when I met Vesper. She was also desperate after a divorce, with no children of her own. We both wanted children and were advised to see a Professor Omar, who was known for helping women in situations like ours. He became the donor for both of us. We promised never to tell anyone, and after we gave birth, we were placed in different hospitals. I never saw Vesper again, but now it seems fate has brought you two together." Weston, still processing the revelation, smiled and hugged his mother. "Mom, you kept this secret all these years, but I'm happy to know I have a brother. Gabriel, you saved me, and I'm grateful. It's incredible to think we're family." Gabriel, now emotional, shook Weston's hand and said, "I'm sorry, brother. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have gone through this. But I'm glad we found each other." With the mystery of their shared blood solved, the brothers felt a new bond. Gabriel added with a smile, "By the way, Chloe and Alma are chatting in the hallway, so I think we're all going to be seeing a lot more of each other. Maybe we should even have a double wedding." From that moment on, both couples became close. They celebrated holidays together, and when Weston fully recovered, a joyous double wedding took place, the most talked about event in the city. Peyton spared no expense organizing the celebration in an upscale restaurant. Now, proud of his daughter's choices, he often boasted that his son-in-law was a heroic policeman who had taken down a notorious mafia. Peyton had also come to terms with Alma studying at the pedagogical university. He realized that what he had feared most was losing his daughter. He learned to listen to her, respecting her choices. In a small countryside home, an elderly man named Omar sat with a ginger cat on his lap, looking at an envelope the postman had delivered. The return address was unfamiliar. Curiously, he opened it and found photographs of two beautiful, happy couples, along with a note that read, "Hello, Dad. Happy birthday. Thank you for giving us life. With love, your sons Weston and Gabriel." Omar smiled, recalling the experiments and the lives he had touched. "They've grown into such handsome men," he thought. It worked. He was proud of what he had achieved and hoped his sons would continue to live happy, fulfilled lives. As time passed, Alma graduated and became a teacher, a profession she adored. She meticulously prepared her lessons and cherished every moment with her students. Shortly after, she discovered she was pregnant. Gabriel was overjoyed at the news. Becoming a father had been a dream of his. Their family continued to grow, and Peyton became a frequent visitor, eagerly awaiting the birth of his grandchild. He often visited the grave of his late wife Molly and spoke to her as if she were still there, saying, "I almost lost our daughter because of my stubbornness, but she proved that true love can conquer any obstacle." Alma and Gabriel lived a simple, happy life. Alma continued to worry about Gabriel during his dangerous assignments, always ensuring he had eaten and savoring every moment they spent together. One cherished family tradition was baking the same cherry pie they had made during the early days of their relationship, a sweet reminder of how far they had come. Their love, forged in challenges and strengthened by family, remained unbreakable.